Welcome to The Other Three Amigos, Los Damas, your weekly unofficial SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division podcast. With Declan McCormack, Eileen Ring and John O'Sullivan. So sit back, put the feet up, because it's toe tap time.
On this week's episode, we chat Shelbourne's victory over Treaty United and DLR Waves win against Sligo Rovers, milestone appearances in the league, the impact of managers on the sidelines, challenges of scheduling midweek games, and the toll it takes on players, previews, reviews, and much more. Welcome to Los Damas.
Hello and welcome to Toe Tap Las Damas, Season 4, Episode 24, Episode 234 of the full Toe Tap offerings. Looks like we're going to hit 250 before the end of the season, guys. The award-winning podcast. We are now on Patreon at patreon.com/Toe Tap. Retweet, please. It is very important to help the pod grow. And as always, our DMs are always open. I'm Declan McCormack, your host of the Las Damas podcast, and I'm delighted to say, seeing as Jessica Farry has now left us to head to Canada, it's just great to have Eileen back from, we won't say where you went, Eileen, but it was much sunnier than it was here, I guess.
Much sunnier, yeah. Really enjoyed last week's episode, and I'm sorry to everyone that I'm back to ruin this week's, but your luck, it is what it is. Apologies. Maybe Jess will be able to fill in again soon.
We won't talk about that now because you upset me today, so we'll just move on now for the moment. I don't mind people being away, but the reasoning really upset me. John, how's things in Tip?
It's grand. You can watch too much football though. I'm a bit burnt out from it because I was up in the UCD on Friday night and then in the Aviva yesterday. One good result, one not so good result, and then catching up on all the women's games as well. So I've seen too much football this weekend.
You're a trooper, but
it can happen.
It's amazing. I mean, it's true actually though. The amount of football we watch is ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. If the off season doesn't come soon, I am going to be divorced. Like, there's no getting away from it. My marriage is in trouble due to Women's League of Ireland football. Like, you know. So, that's a joke as well, just in case anybody.
I was going to make a comment, but I won't.
That's what I yeah.
Guys,
it's been a busy. Anyway.
Yeah. It's been a busy week. Where to start? I guess the best place to start, Eileen, is Peamounts Champions League adventure. Oh, yeah. Could almost touch it. Could taste it at one stage.
Very much so. I think they're going to look at it as one that got away. They were absolutely incredible. I saw all of yesterday's game, and I saw highlights from the first game. Just two brilliant performances. Huge credit to James and his coaching team, because they obviously got their scouting spot on. Like, the way they set up in the two games was just brilliant, and they were so unlucky yesterday. And look, I suppose at this level and at that level, it's the finest of margins, and they just have that 5-minute spell in at the start of the second half, and like, other than that, for the entire game, they're the better team. Karen hits the post as well late on with a very good effort, and a few kind of good chances from corners, and we know how dangerous they are from set pieces, but yeah, like they did remarkably well. Like, it was so warm out there. I think it was in the mid-30s, like, and I think going into the second game, you're coming off a game where that's went to extra time and is again in really hot conditions. And look, I think I said myself on Twitter or X yesterday that, like, I know Peamount have such high standards for themselves that they're not going to take any kind of good at the moment out of a moral victory, but like, I hope in time they'll be able to look back and be really proud of how they played and what they achieved out there, because like you said it last week, like, we're punching above our weight, like, as soon as we go out to Champions League, because of the financing that the women's game is getting in other countries against what our league is getting here. So it's a huge credit to them. I think they really outperformed themselves, especially not to be harsh on them, but they haven't been the greatest this season, and like, they really stepped up a level, and I said huge credit, and a brilliant like, just show for the league to go out and said to perform on that level so well. And to be covered on TV. See, European games on TV.
It's amazing, isn't it? John,
It's
to be
wonderful.
fair to you, when we spoke to Dervla last week and we left Dervla go, and I kind of said, look, they don't have much of a chance, and I'll hold my hands up to that. And I think once again, a League of Ireland club proved me wrong. Delighted to say so. But you did bring up the fact, and you've brought it up a few times, that Shelbourne were the victim of very poor refereeing decisions in their trip to the Champions League the year before, and that there might have been a precipice there that could be broken by Irish teams. But as Eileen has said, Peamount went, they won in 30 degrees heat in extra time against a professional outfit. And I keep asking myself the question since, is like, what could we achieve here if there was just a little bit of investment, and not even investment, just if it felt like there was a little bit of care and attention given by the league, by the FAI, by some clubs, that there is a chance that the world is the world is our oyster for a number of clubs in this country.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've never been a big fan of moral victories, but look, the reality is that the last couple of years we've come extremely close to, kind of getting past that first hurdle. And when you're playing against the clubs you are and the resources you have, it's remarkable, really. And even if there was something, that the FAI could do just to financially, like just to give the teams travelling, just make sure that their prep, even while they're over there, the hotels they're staying in, the training grounds that are available to them, like we have scouts for all the international teams that travel away. I'm sure some of them have papers, dossiers on Croatia. They could help clubs out, could help people out. Maybe they do, I don't know, but there has to be some way in the short term they can help clubs by helping with logistics and with preparation. But in the long term, like you're not going to get too many rungs up the ladder with the financing and the resources that are put behind the league here, and that ultimately is an FAI thing. The ceiling domestically is driven by what clubs can attract in terms of attendances and sponsorship, but when we go abroad, might be no harm to help the champions out a little bit. I'm sure the prize money in the women's side isn't anything like on the men's side, so you're not really if you're giving a club a hand or a leg up when they're going to the Champions League, it's not like they're coming back into the domestic league with a 2 million pot that's going to change the structure and the standing of the league or the results in the league, because suddenly a Champions League team can buy 20 players. So yeah, look, just well done to Peamount, and it's a pity they were so close. Like,
I think, no, John, to be fair, you're failing to recognise that the league office did give Peamount their bye week this weekend, so they didn't have to cancel the league game and play it on a Wednesday night to make it up at some stage in the future. So let's be fair now and give credit where credit is due, Speaking of stepping up rungs and up ladders and everything else, Eileen, John's hero, Ellen Malloy, left Wexford to join Sheffield United and went straight into their side and started today.
Yeah, it's just probably not surprising, I think, to anyone who's ever seen Ellen Malloy kick a ball. She's a really, really special player. I think for me, like, players that have, like, she just has this incredible natural ability. She has something you can't coach. But I think on top of that, she obviously has been very well coached, so she's able to do all the kind of dirty side of the game as well. Look, for me, I think Championship is perfect for her to start off at, but like, she's not going to be there for very long, because if she stays fit, like, she'll go a level above. Like, before she'd got injured, and there was Aston Villa were interested in her. Emma Hayes was a huge fan of hers. So like, all these people know what they're talking about as well, So as a supporter of the league, she's exactly why you support the league. I think she's just a joy to watch every single time. I think she's a massive loss for Wexford because she's a game changer, but at the same time, you could see how happy all of the Wexford players in the club are for her. And yeah, look, best of luck to her. I look forward to, I was trying to find the game today and I couldn't, but look, to be fair, a lot of Championship games are shown on YouTube, so we will be able to kind of still keep an eye on her. And I think she's probably been unlucky not to be in the last international squad. I would expect going forward she's kind of going to be a regular in that. And like if you're going forward and we talk about say our international squad and we have like our superstars in Katie McCabe and Denise O'Sullivan, for me going forward it's going to be Ella Malloy and it's going to be Jessie Stapleton. They're going to be the next two that I think like their ceiling is just infinite, you know, and they're both playing now where they're going to be playing week in week out, and both really, I could say they're both maybe only, are they 19 or 20 still, so like really exciting future for us internationally as well.
Well, like what you're saying there now, Eileen, is bringing back the idea of the magic plane, and then when it leaves Ireland and lands in England, all of a sudden you're 10 times a better player than you were before you left.
But like without a shadow of a doubt, it's even more evident in the women's game than it is in the men's. Like, do you know what I mean? We've seen it an awful lot here. So, and like to be like, it's even more so evident that if there's a League of Ireland player in the senior squad, they're told to go to England. So like, I'm saying I expect to see her in the squad just because of her form, but like we know it's a case. The international management want them playing professional football. They want them playing full-time football. So it is what it is, I guess.
Okay. Que sera, sera, as a great man once said, huh? John, another pod hero, or hero's probably a bit strong yet at the moment, is it? But we have James Scott taking his 17s to Portugal, where they put on quite a performance, 5-2 victory. I mean, is there anything James Scott can't do?
No, and he's just getting better and better, and all the work that he puts in, and that we've complimented so often.
Yeah,
like he goes around and he takes under 17 coaching sessions at clubs. You see him with county, regional, CFE. He's constantly looking at who's coming through, who the next player is. And like the game itself, Ireland were excellent. They were unlucky to be 2-1 down when Aisling Meehan came off the bench. But like what a game for her! Like 30 minutes and a hat trick, and then a very cool Liam McGrath steps up to take a penalty at the end. It's it's a credit to him. Like he just. Like again, like at every term, you know, at every level, we're punching above our weight. Really, no different to Peamounts. The girls that are on that Irish under-17 team, a lot of them are, you know, they're graduates of local schoolgirls clubs going into the League of Ireland, you know, in the last year or two at a maximum, and. Yeah, look, just absolutely brilliant performance, really good result. And again, difficult conditions, you know, a temperature and a level that Irish players aren't used to. But Aisling Meehan came back then and added to the tally against DLR. But like, I'll be honest with you, I'd seen her play with DLR and I'd forgotten how young she was. She's still only 16. Like, it's incredible, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, and an incredible result, to be fair. Also got to give TG Cahir a shout out. Eileen, you mentioned this already, but they did carry Peamounts game on Saturday. They also obviously then carried Wexford and Galway United on Saturday night. So that's two games that they've shown, one via their YouTube channel, one obviously live on TV. And like, they're the only ones stepping up. They're the only ones doing anything for the league at the moment. And as I said, I just wanted to give them a shout out and, you know, basically say thanks and keep it going.
It's not just that TG Cahir are covering it. I think the product they do is brilliant. Like, it's like the interviews pre-game and post-game. I'm like, my Irish is coming along really, really well. It's really well. I'm going to be really good at helping my child with her homework, all thanks to TG Cahir's coverage of the Women's National League. But no, they're brilliant to have. And my only fear is that, like, the men's league try to hijack it. Do you know what I mean? That would be my only fear, because I hope not. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope if they were to get on board with the men's league, that the women's league won't fall by the wayside with them. But no, they've been absolutely incredible. And I think they have another game. Are they down in Limerick this weekend? So
yeah,
fair play to them. Realistically, they're probably going to have a game every weekend between now and the end of the season. I think the only thing that I'd like for them to have is the cup final as well. Because they give us such good coverage. Like, RT don't tip off the league all year from one end of the year to the next, like very, very rarely. So for me, I would like if TG Cahir had it. I understand why they don't, but at the same time, you would like if they had kind of, I suppose, the big day out at the end of the season.
Yeah, but look, Alan Cawley doesn't have a coupe de focal, and they have to roll him out on RT once a year to do the Women's Cup final. So, you know, can't take that away from Alan. Oh, Jesus, I'm in one of those humours now tonight, lads, stand back, clear the decks. Okay, so what have we... Sorry, I don't know. Also, we should mention, and we can't go into it really as such, but Galway did beat Treaty 4-1 midweek. As I said, we can't do a full review of it because there was so much happening over the weekend, but should point that out very quickly. Whichever one of you saw it or want to take it up. Obviously, we all saw it. What am I saying? But whoever wants to run with it, a quick summary of what went on for the listeners.
I thought it was a really, really good game. I think Galway were pretty comfortable. And as soon as Van Dalder really was sent off, I think it was over as a contest, even if it wasn't before then. I think long term, I think it could be a bit damaging for it really affected Treaty and it affected Galway going into this weekend, that midweek game, because Katie Lawley was injured, McCleary got injured, Van Dalder was sent off, and then they're all out for the trip to Dublin. So it was a bit of a nightmare night for Treaty, I think. Now I know Katie Lawley came on late in Talca Park, but at the same time, the other thing was Lindsay McKee is injured, and someone had a really good idea that if a player wasn't in a match day squad, put them up in the commentary gantry, and she did really. Wow. She was brilliant. It was
so
great.
Many clubs have started to do that in recent weeks. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
But she was brilliant. She was excellent, and a lot of insight, as I said, into her own team, but also into Treaty, because obviously she's from down that neck of the woods. So no, it's brilliant. And look, more of that. I think we've seen a big. We see it at Shelburne again at the weekend. Positive steps in terms of their commentary. So yeah, very good. But yeah, no, great win for Galway. They were excellent. They were back to their kind of free-flowing best, to be fair.
Very good, very good. I'm just going to say this now because I know I'll forget it in 20 minutes in the match review or 50 minutes time or whatever. But so just a shout out to the person at Loan who sent us a DM saying if we wanted media passes for the game on Saturday night, there was absolutely no problem. But if we were doing any interviews, they'd all have to be done on the far side of the Shannon, which I thought was exceptionally funny and humorous. So as I said, I just want to mention that because I will forget it in the match review later on. So fair play to them. And unfortunately, we weren't able to take the offer up. But
I
as
wish
Eileen said,
TG Loan rather than maybe.
yeah, they are in TG Cahir are in Limerick on Saturday night to cover Treaty and Athlone, and I think they announced that they would be in Galway to cover the Galway Shelburne league game as well in a couple of weeks' time. So fair play to TG Cahir. They're going to bring us home for the end of the season. Definitely be interesting to see what they do last day of the season. I presume. Well, they're obviously going to wait, but at the moment you'd probably be going to Athlone and Galway in Galway. John, we'll hit the underage results. Under 17 Tier 1, Cork City 4, Treaty 0. Waterford 4, Shelburne 2, Shamrock Rovers 2, Bows 0, Wexford 0, Athlone 1. Tier 2 North, Sligo 3, Drogheda 1, Longford 0, Galway 3, Mayo 0, Finn Harps 1. Tier 2 South, Peamount 3, Bray Wanderers 1, CK United 3, Cove Ramblers 1, and Kerry 4, DLR 1. In the under-19s, the Cup semi-finals were on this weekend. Shelburne won 3-2 away at Shamrock Rovers, and Athlone beat Bohemians 2-0 at home. So, John, that ends up the under-19 Cup final will be Shelburne and Athlone. Could be a carbon copy of another Cup final by the way things are going.
It could, but I think Athlone would be stronger favourites for the under-19s. They've been outstanding all year in the initial phases in Tier 1 and now obviously in the Cup as well. The only other thing I think, just a note on Waterford beat Cove Ramblers in the under-19 league today, and Fianna Bradley, friend of the pod, obviously former Cork City, former Treaty player, got a hat-trick. So great to see her scoring again.
John's ahead of me now. I haven't even read out the results yet, and I have a note here: Bradley hat-trick and 1 assist. But we'll just rewind now a second, John. Back down. Tier 2 North, Peamounts 1, DLR Waves 2, Sligo Rovers 1, Galway 1. Tier 2 South, Waterford 6, Cove Ramblers 0. John, I don't know if you know or not, but Fiona Bradley got a hat-trick and an assist in that game. It's a good return for her, isn't it?
Yeah, great to see her scoring and back enjoying her football by all accounts. So yeah,
absolutely fantastic stuff altogether. We push on into the match reviews. We will start in Talca Park, where it finished Shelbourne 4, Treaty 2. Kate Mooney got 2, Maggie Pearson, Christy Gray got 1 each. This might sound mental to say now, right? But Treaty are 4-0 down. As you said, they were out McCleary, they were out Van Dalder. They're 4-0 down. That's a game. And I messaged you, Eileen. You were watching that game. I was watching the Shamrock Rovers Bohemians game. And I said, surely now Shelbourne push on for the goal difference. And they didn't. Treaty got 2 goals back. And I kind of go like, if Treaty fold there at 4-0 down, nobody batters an eyelid. But then I was thinking about what you said last week about Treaty next year. And I know Treaty now we're kind of looking at next year as opposed to this year. And I just kind of think like, to me, just pulling the 2 goals back there, and I said it might be a bit out there, but it shows a sign of maybe a mental fortitude and a mental toughness that maybe wasn't something that they had prior. And I don't know, is it Daniel Steer has given it to them? Is it a mixture, or is it just something that's been developed over the season? But I kind of look at it and go, even though you lost 4-2, there's a lot of positives there all of a sudden that can be taken from a performance and a result that could have been 6 or 7 for a lot of clubs, you know?
Yeah, and look, to be fair, I think to get up to 4-0, like Shelbourne were like really professional, perfect way to bounce back from the result in Dalymount last week. They were at it from the get-go. I thought Kate Mooney was brilliant. She's just like, she's a proper striker, like she's always in the right place. Maggie Pearce is absolutely incredible for them again. As said, they were really, really professional. And I was like, I thought Treaty really struggled. I thought defensively they did quite well. But it was fairly relentless from Shelbourne. And then Shelbourne made a lot of changes. But like I have written down in my notes that like the attitude and the character from Treaty to not drop your head there. And as you said, like McCleary has been incredible for them at centre half since she's come in. Van Dalder has probably been their standout player in the last 2 years. So like, they're 2 huge losses, and like Katie Lawley comes on late. I presume that is because she was injured. I think Talca Park is a really hard place to go to, especially then when Shelbourne are in the mood that they were in that day. So yeah, like as you said, I think for Treaty going forward, the way they reacted was brilliant. He made he made a few changes at halftime. He changed the keeper. He brought Annie back in. I think Irwin struggled a little bit in the first half. And she was just so vocal, like you could hear her on the stream, like she's just so vocal, just non-stop. And like that experience as well, I said, kind of pulled them through. As critical off the pitch as I've been of Shelbourne's commentary, they had Grace McCauley-Ryan, who would have played National League herself, but I'm going to say Raheny, definitely Shamrock Rovers, but Raheny as well. She's Whitehall's goalkeeper now. And she was brilliant, and she even knew the Shelbourne's goalkeeper's name. So look, big steps forward there. And hopefully she'll be back up there again, you know. But look, as a game, I think it's said professional job done from Shelbourne. But yeah, good signs from Treaty, I think. Especially, I think it was hard to go in there the way Wednesday night had went for them. And it said going in without the starters, because I think it's never an easy place to go. And a shout out to Cara Griffin, who made her 100th appearance. I think Cara's been excellent. She's been excellent in some of the poorer Treaty teams, and she's been excellent in this Treaty team. And to be fair to her, she's had opportunities to go elsewhere, and she's stuck with her home club, and it's great to see that. And I know it's something Treaty seem to get a lot of stick for over not playing enough local players, but look, there you have someone who's after getting to 100, and she's a brilliant player, and I'm sure there'll be many more appearances for her in a Treaty shirt.
There's no need for a host tonight anyway, lads, because all my notes are just been used before I actually get to that point, you know, because my next point was Cara Griffin, 100 appearance. John, incredible achievement for somebody who's only 21, you know, but we are done and dusted with that now. So instead, John, I'm going to ask you, where do we stand on managers changing goalkeepers at halftime?
Watching the game, and in real time, I thought it was harsh. To be honest, I think the first goal is just it's a brilliant finish from Kate Mooney. No keeper stopping it. Second one, okay, the Leah Doyle shot is spilled, but it's an absolute rasper of a shot. And then third goal, she gets cut out by Christy Gray, but. The reality is that Anne Eliak did make a difference when she came on, and it's exactly like Eileen said. Even the commentators commented on it, that you could hear her, how vocal she was, organising. And look, Katie's a very young keeper, and Shelburne were in one of those moods. Probably the right call, I think. But once the message from the management to the player, I think that's important in how you do that, especially with a keeper. That you don't knock someone's confidence, because goalkeepers, as much as strikers, it's a big confidence game as well. You don't want to be getting into your own head. There's long periods of time where you don't see the ball, so I'm sure Katie Dearman's a very talented keeper. She'll bounce back, but yeah, it was a tough day at the office for her. The only other notes I have thrown down, I think Eileen covered everything else, was just the two treaty goals were excellent, but when you look at the bench, even right at the start of the broadcast, and Shelburne flash up their team and the bench that they have, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. The quality that's sitting on that bench is just nuts,
We have a question in the mailbag related to that, but I'm going to wait for the mailbag. I'm not going to unleash it on you now. Okay. Eileen, very quickly before.
I have one more thing before I finish on it, because we said 100 appearances for Cara Griffin. It was actually 100 appearances for Kiva Keenan as well. Everyone knows I'm a massive fan of hers. I also would have definitely thought she had more than 100 appearances, but I appreciate she was in Scotland for a few years as well. But she's, I think, probably one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. I think she's brilliant. She's an absolutely incredible athlete and an incredible footballer.
Okay, well, congratulations to both Kiva Keenan and Cara Griffin on reaching those milestones with their respective clubs. Eileen, I was just going to say, I have one more question regarding Shelburne before we move on. They've now conceded in 4 league games in a row. Is there any reason to suddenly worry about their defensive prowess?
No, because they're starting to score goals as well, so I think not. I think that was probably... the clean sheets were so vital at the start of the season for them, because they were struggling up the other end. But the fact that they're scoring a bit more freely now maybe means they're able to kind of get away with that. But for them, and look, yourself from speaking to them in Turner's Cross, they take a huge amount of pride in that defensive stability. So I'm sure for them, they'll want that to improve. But the header from the corner was brilliant, but I think as a defensive side, you're always going to think you can defend a corner better. But that Danielle Steer goal is brilliant. It really is. I think it's an incredible strike, and sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and say, "Fuck, that was a great goal," So, but yeah, look, we know they take pride in it, so I'm sure they're not going to be happy with it.
Absolutely. DLR Waves headed west to take on Sligo Rovers. Remember, it was just a fortnight ago that Sligo went to DLR and won in the cup. And I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, and I know Laura Heffern's part, but I just keep coming back to it. She must be tearing her hair out at that cup game, because DLR went there yesterday and absolutely ripped Sligo a new one. It was 4-0. Amber Hardy, the Sligo keeper, is probably player of the match. Haven't even conceded 4, and it's just... As I said, that cup game, if I was at DLR, I would just be like, how did it happen? How did they allow it to happen? But look, it is what it is. On yesterday's performance, it was Amber Cosgrove, Keelan Dodd, Ashton Meehan, and Shannon Hanlon-Cody all scored. Just popped in my head, no, John, and I don't have the answer, but it must be a long time since 4 DLR players scored in the same game.
Thanks for putting me on the spot with that one.
Oh yeah, no, I don't expect you. No, I don't expect you to know the answer. It must be a long time.
Yeah, it's like, we'll say you go back 3 or 4 years, DLR would have been challenging at the top end of the table, but you're definitely going back to probably 3 years anyway. But maybe even then, a little that's rare enough, and 4 good goals as well. That's an interesting one actually. 4 different scorers.
Yeah, Eileen, I mean, it was just, as I said, it was like, you don't want to be harsh on Sligo, but we kind of have to be, to be fair to every other team in the league. We call it as we see it, and it was a bit of a shambles.
Yeah, I thought they were really poor, and I think that's got to be frustrating for them because they seem to kind of, I said they certainly had turned a corner in terms of their performances. It's the way they looked. They looked like they were defensively a lot more stable, and like it was women against girls there yesterday. Like, I mean, they couldn't really lay a glove on DLR. Even like something as simple as like the 2 penalties that DLR get, like Amber obviously saves the second penalty, but like they never complain. Do you know what I mean? And while they are both penalties, like they accept it, and there was no kind of bit of bite that we've seen from them from the last few weeks. And I don't know, is that just the mental fatigue of what's been a long season? But like, I would have thought the win in the cup would have kind of gied them up a little bit and given them something to kind of fight for. But to me, they just looked like a really tired side. It could have really been any score. I was really impressed with DLR. I thought they played such good football. Keelan Dodd has been incredible for them since she's come in. And like, she was a sub at the start of the year, and she obviously stepped in when Ngazi got injured. Actually, on a side note as well, she played minutes for their 19s today, which was her first game back, which was brilliant to see because she obviously had kind of that freak injury. So like with the hardy saves, and like I think it was Leah Kelly as well, had one incredible goal line clearance for Sligo. Like 7 or 8-0 wouldn't have flattered DLR. So I think for Tommy Hewitt, he's like, I kind of feel like I'm a broken record talking about sides finding consistency, and I think he's got to be like, what's happened there yesterday? Do you know what I mean? Because do you just write it down to put it behind you because we had been playing better, or is it a case if they let that get in their heads now and that's kind of where they continue? But yeah, I think Sligo just want the season to be over, like after they win the cup, of course.
Okay. Is there an elephant in the room here now, guys? In so much that Tommy, I don't want to do I want to be that bastard now again? But
don't do it.
They looked like Conor O'Grady stepped in for 3 games and they looked functional and they looked better. I don't want to be unfair because I know I'm going to sound unfair on Tommy Hewitt, but they looked dysfunctional yesterday, and that was Tommy's first game back in. I don't know what other way to put it.
I think it's probably just a coincidence because he wasn't on the sideline. I think he was still going to be taking all the trainings. He's still picking the team. He's still, they're playing how he wanted them to play. I think it's just a coincidence. It's really unfortunate then that he's a prick like you that's ready to point it out that it's all his fault. Look, that's where we're at now. Do you know, they have a podcast critiquing their every move now.
Yeah, and as I said, I don't want, but if it was if it was any other club, I'd say it. So we always swore we would just say it as we see it.
It's not that Tommy Hewitt went on holidays for 3 weeks. He just wasn't on the sideline for matches. You know what I mean? Instead, he's still at the helm there all week, and obviously not pre or post game because you're not allowed in the dressing room. But you know what I mean. So I just think it's a coincidence. And look, we'll just chalk it down to a very bad week for Sligo, and hopefully they'll be able to bounce back. Oh, they're Shelburne next, do they? They have to bounce back.
Yeah, they have Shelburne Wednesday night in the league game. Managers aren't allowed in the dressing room after games for which they're suspended, but there was a first division manager who won the league on Friday night and was in every photograph in the dressing room afterwards. So I'm not sure how it all works, to be honest with you.
I know, and actually Sligo, I know another manager who shall remain nameless that a few seasons ago was suspended and was trying to sneak into a dressing room up in Sligo, and the referees were onto it, but the said manager had managed to I think sneak out a side door of the dressing room. But referees are aware of it, do you know what I mean? And they will check if I suppose they know the type of characters different managers are, and this manager in question certainly would chanced his arm but got away with it, so all's well that ends well. While both those games were playing, Shamrock Rovers were playing Bohemians in Tala in the big Dublin derby.
2 minutes in, Katie Malone push Bows ahead. Bows had a great chance. I think it was Alana McAvoy won it to put them 2-0 up. They didn't, and then Joy Ralph and Anya O'Gorman put Shams 2-1 up. They scored 2 in a minute. Fiona Owens gets a third before half time, and it just kind of felt like at half time that the wind had kind of gone out of both sails, I guess. It was a quiet second half up until the time that Stephanie Zambra belted one in off the underside of the crossbar. Brilliant goal, brilliant strike. And then Emily Corbett gets her first Shamrock Rovers goal. I think it was 4 minutes after Zambra's strike, which is a brilliant thing for her. I mean, if there's a player in the country needs a bit of a confidence boost, it's Emily Corbett. It's only 2 years ago that she was the league's player of the year in the league, and I still think she has the potential to be the best striker in the country if people just knew how to use her properly. But look, Rovers were very good, I thought. Bows will be frustrated. You know, they go 1 up. I still don't know. I'm still laughing that this ball trickles into the back of the net. Look, to be fair, Amanda Budden just seems to have kind of lost her bearings. And I think she thinks it's going wide and it rolls in. And she just turns around and starts throwing fucks at the centre backs in front of her. You know, I mean, it's absolute fantastic. Like, you know, and I love that shit. Like, always blame somebody else. So Bows won't be happy with the goals they conceded. Whichever one of you, John, I suppose, I was spoken to Eileen Law. They won't be happy with the goals they conceded, especially the 2 in a minute that put them from 1 up to 2 down very, very quickly.
Yeah. They were. I think. Look, it's obvious enough. Like they were without Lisa Murphy through suspension, and then lost Sarah Power during the game as well, and that's going to unsettle them, and you know they weren't as defensively sound as we've come to expect. I mean, Leah O'Leary does brilliant for Anya's goal, I think it was, and
it was,
Joy Ralph was getting you know a load of space and played really, really well. I thought Rovers were brilliant, to be honest. I thought Jess Hennessy and Maria Reynolds were absolutely brilliant. Like, but now part of that was they had so much time, but like they were creating that time for themselves. They were never rushed. They were finding passes. They're playing out really, really well. And even in the second half, at times it was almost like they were just playing a 2 at the back, and Savannah McCarthy pushed up high, and it had allowed Leo O'Leary to go for a little bit of a wander. And like it's funny, but Steph Zambra, it being in the middle, they're playing a little bit in front of Scarlett Hearn and Aoife Kelly. That's like, whether by look or design, the Rovers probably have their best kind of lineup now. Joy Ralph has started to play really, really well, and you've Leo O'Leary and Anya Gorman out wide. I mean, I thought they were very, very good. Like you can talk about Bows a lot, but the fact of the matter is, I think Rovers are comfortable throughout the game. Like, and you know, it's probably the best I've seen them play, possibly this season. Thought they were just really, really good, well worth the win, and even well worth the victory. But look, I suppose to actually answer your question though, yeah, when you're 1-0 up and Alana McAvoy goes so close straight after, they'll be disappointed with how they contributed to some of the goals themselves, you know, like a misplaced pass here or a missed tackle there. But overall, I think Rovers were really worthy winners, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought so too. I also thought it was Rovers' best performance of the season. I guess if they could play Bows because they've beaten Bows by 4, twice this season, haven't they? If I remember correctly.
Yeah,
they scored 4 anyway.
9-1 in aggregate, if you want to put it that way. Yeah.
It's
5-1 and 4 now.
So I don't know if they could play Bows every week, but I don't want to take anything away from Rovers. I thought they were excellent. Put their best players in their best positions, and amazing things can happen. Anything else we need to pick up on out of that game? I don't think there was. Was there? As I said, maybe Emily Corbett, Eileen. How important is it for her that she gets a goal and, as I said, gets that confidence back in her game?
Yeah, look, and for her as well, it'll be about getting minutes. I don't think she's got a huge amount of time since she's gone to Shamrock Rovers. So, look, that goal will do her the world of good, and hopefully, look, that she can push on, because, look, I agree with you. I think she has a really high ceiling as a player, and we saw how good she can be at Athlone when utilised right. So, I think for her, if she could get a couple more before the end of the season, and then you kind of are able to hit the ground running, come into pre-season, have a full season at your new club and kind of push on from there. But yeah, look, I was delighted to see her score as well. I just would have to mention Steph Zamber. I thought she was incredible. Like, for a side that have struggled to create, it's probably not that surprising that they've struggled to create when you have Steph sitting on the bench, Jamie Thompson sitting on the bench, probably two of their most creative players from last year. So it probably makes sense that, look, they create a bit more when she's on the pitch.
She was unreal, in fairness.
Yeah, absolutely. Those were the afternoon kickoffs. We then had a break while the whole country got humiliated at the Aviva. And then we came, look, we were humiliated. Like, I won't even go into it. Like, I mean, I know it was 2-0, but I mean, Jesus Christ. Like,
yeah, no Julianne Russell, no party. What can I say?
I tell you,
yeah.
I was joking to people around me that I genuinely, as you said it, I was joking to people around me sitting that if Julianne Russell was pressing instead of some of the men there, we would have been better off. And I will stand by that till the day I die, because she would have put in a better shift up there.
All right, not to get way off tangent, but till the day I die, I'll always remember this stat. At half time, we had attempted 79 passes. England had attempted 383. You know, we were absolutely just like goes, like, I mean, we weren't at the races. But anyway, different area, different podcast. We leave that to Dan and Johnny on LOI Central or whoever will pick up that baton. When that humiliation was over, Cork City headed to Athlone, 0-0 at half time.
Nice segue.
No, I'm not going to. No. You see, ye have bad thoughts. No, that was not intentional. It was genuinely wasn't. But I'm not taking it out either, because it's probably funny when you're listening. But yeah, so that was not intentional. But Cork City went to Athlone. What I was going to say was very impressive first half, defensively solid. Look good. You were kind of looking and thinking, oh, Jesus, they're Athlone, they're coming off their bye, or they're struggling to break Cork City down. And then 5 minutes after half time, they concede 2. Now, they're 2 great strikes. But it kind of felt like from the minute Brenda Tabby opened the scoring that it was mission impossible, Eileen.
Yeah, and like, while I thought we were very good defensively in the first half, then I was thinking afterwards, was it just that Athlone never really got going? Look, he made a massive amount of changes, and he needed to, because we were very, very poor the week before. So I do think changes were required, and it seemed to be working well. And to be fair, like, we broke a couple of times, and we just were unfortunate that, like, Rossman was incredible at the back for them, and Katie made a couple of good saves anytime she was called upon. And it was going to be one of those nights where it was like, oh, Rossman's not going to give anything up here, like, because even once or twice when we got past her, she was like Lazarus, like, she just recovered, like, and you're like, oh, you're like, she was just there and she made the saving tackle. I thought she was excellent. But yeah, like that, like Jessie Mendes on Brenda, like, to me made a huge amount of sense, and for most of the game it made a lot of sense. And look, I think there's, like, that first goal Brenda scores, I don't think has anything to do with Jessie, to be fair. I think it's an incredible strike, like, but we were wide open on the left side, like, especially in the second half. Like, you can't give Maddie Gibson the amount, and look, I get it, like, the pitch in Athlone is massive and I understand that, but the amount of space we gave to Maddie Gibson was criminal, like, and like, you could see from the nature of her second strike, like, she does not need space. If you're able to score that goal, and she doesn't need any space. But we decided to give her loads anyway, because look, we're sound enough like that. Cork people are notoriously sound. And look, Shauna Brennan's goal as well up there in, like, the goal of the season category. Like, it was a really, really incredible strike. But fair play to Athlone, because I said it's that bye week. We've seen a lot of teams drop points off it, and they kind of could have easily at halftime fallen into that, like maybe I suppose the rut of, it's our bye week and we're kind of, and you have to bear in mind that another bad injury, well, I don't know how bad the injury was, but they lost Kerry-Ann Brown, who's been probably their standout performer of the last 3 or 4 games. Like, I think I texted in the group and I said, like, if they didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck at all. Like, they are just having a nightmare losing players. Like, but again, Isabel Ryan comes in and she's incredible. She's a brilliant game. And that must be, as a manager, you're saying, well, look, like, there's always someone else to just step up. But yeah, look, impressed with that loan. Frustrated by City. I thought he rung then a lot of changes again, which looked to me maybe to be resting people with Wednesday night in mind. For me, I the sooner we see Niamh Cotter back in that side, the better, because like we've been quite poor without her. I understand they're probably trying to be kind of protect her a bit because she had a head injury against Bowes, but like my understanding is that she has passed all of those HIA protocols, so hopefully she'll be back in, because she's been excellent for us this season, and I think she brings a real steeliness to our side as well. And kind of, look, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, like, but a kind of a nasty streak. And I think we missed that a little bit the last 2 games.
I have to say, like, obviously Niamh suffered a concussion against Bowes. And I know she's passed the HIAs and the concussion protocols and everything else. But I don't mind giving a player an extra week or 2 just to make absolutely sure, because the knock-on effects from these concussions are horrendous, and I think actually football as a sport needs to do a hell of a lot better in dealing with them and dealing with them on the pitch and everything else. John, it was a bit of a chastening second half for Cork City, I guess, but as alluded to, like, there was 4 goals scored and all 4 were worldies. Like, they were right out of the top drawer in terms of strikes and goals.
Yeah, look, there's probably you could pick it apart and go, look, X led to this goal, Y led to that goal. But the fact of the matter is that there were 4 outstanding finishes, and like we said earlier on, sometimes you just have to put your hand up and say that's an unbelievable strike. I mean, Maddie Gibson, I would be amazed if she scored 2 better goals in the same game. Shauna Brennan's strike is outstanding. Brenda, to be fair, like Eileen said, I thought Jessie was brilliant on Brenda, and it's the one time she left her, Brenda scores. It's just 4 fantastic strikes. I do think that towards the end of the game, Danny had an eye on Galway, but I think there was a positive in that, because we finished quite strong with some quite young players on the pitch as well. And maybe, I don't know, at that stage of the game is when they're taking their foot off the pedal a little bit, but it was a young team that finished the game as well. And look, just a small, like, it was a really tough debut for Zoe Finnerty, but I thought she did quite well. Like, Isabel Ryan has bundles of pace, and Heidi Mackin did a great job to cover her off. But look, she's still only, I think Zoe's only 16. She's definitely one for the future. And like, it's a hard place to go, and she quit herself really, really well.
Yeah, I should say I did notice as well that Isabella Ryan scored for Athlone today in that under-19 Cup semi-final. So she was out again today. Guys, there was a funny one in the build-up to this, because, and like, this is like, I don't have the best way with words now, but Eva Mangan didn't play last night for Cork City. She was pictured, obviously Liverpool had pictures on their Instagram, and you could clearly see Eva Mangan was training with Liverpool during the week. Where do we stand on players missing games to be at other clubs on trial or training or whatever was going on during the week?
I think she should be back for the game. I know a lot of other players have been on trial during the summer. Some have made the move, some haven't made the move. It's not Eva's first time being overtraining somewhere for a few days. I presumed she'd be back for the match, but look, that wasn't the case, which is, I suppose, disappointing. And I think, but at the same time, they're not contracted players, so exactly. That's the issue there. So like, I mean, I personally would never begrudge a player because, as I said, she's not on a contract. So that's where we're at with the league, and I think that's hard, and it's hard for clubs, it's hard for managers, it's hard for squads, but is it the first time this season where we've seen a player has actually missed a game because they're away? But look, transfer window is kind of approaching in England. I think it's next Friday. So look, maybe they wanted to kind of take a longer look at her, which would explain maybe why she wasn't home for the weekend. But it's disappointing from a club's point of view. But again, like, players aren't contracted. Players have to do what's best for them and their careers. So like, best of luck to her. An incredible club. I know you'll disagree, Declan, but your own loyalties aside, it would be an incredible opportunity. An incredible opportunity for her was that to come off. Do you know what I mean? And like, Matt Beard is a brilliant manager with a really good history of developing young players as well. So I think it would be a really exciting move for her if it was to come to fruition. And yeah, like, but women's football is so unserious. Like, you can't be posting training and then just this player like in the background of it. Like Arsenal did this in January as well. Like, they posted a picture and like Emily Fox is strolling in the background and they don't announce her for another 3 days. We're very unserious at times. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is hard. Like,
yeah. Like, I just put on record, I don't think Cork City have a leg to stand on here, to be honest with you, you know.
I agree.
Oh no, they don't, like, but she's not.
Even if it's something as simple as would say she was coming home on, you know, she had the choice between coming home on Friday or Saturday, and the flight back on Saturday is cheaper. She's not getting a penny from Cork City, like, so pick the cheaper flight. I mean, like, obviously as a Cork City fan, you want players of Eva's quality to be in the matchday squad, but like, it's costing, like, you know, our players are volunteers, like, they're not even getting expenses. It's costing them money to play for the club. So if Eva wants to go on holidays, who can say? Never mind, give herself the opportunity to play abroad. Like, who can really say boo to her? Like, do you know?
Yeah, I don't think, like, I don't think anyone in Cork City would begrudge Eva either. Do you know what I mean? Of course, as John said, you want your best players available, but they know as well the situation they're in. And said Eva doesn't owe Cork City anything. She's been incredible for us. The time she's given on the pitch and the amount of work she's done in the community as well. So, like I said, she doesn't owe Cork City anything, and Cork City know that as well, I think.
Yeah, but like, I just say as well, my understanding is that Cork City made a conscious decision to start the season not to put Eva on the contract. So, you know, you reap what you sow, kind of a scenario then as well, you know. As I said,
to be honest,
decision made.
To put a club hat on there, though, I mean, you're not getting a transfer fee anyway, so, you know, that's the other side of it. Like, if you... No, I'm not saying I'm advocating not putting players on contracts, but, you know, if you're either doing... I think it possibly sends the wrong message to be just putting one player on a contract too in the middle of everything.
That's fair enough too. Absolutely fair enough. We'll park Cork City in Athlone there. So, and live on TG Car, Galway went down to Wexford. We're talking about screamers in Athlone. Jesus, Kylie Murphy belted one in from 25 yards to open the scoring down there. And Nicholas Sinnott OG put Galway back on level terms. It feels like it's a tough period for Galway because they played Treaty on Wednesday night in Galway. They went to Wexford. They come to Cork on Wednesday night. And then on Saturday, they have to go to Dublin to play DLR. So it's 3 away games in the trot. And if they're playing 4 games, you know, Wednesday, Saturday, we've just spoken about it. It's not a professional league. It's a league that has stopped willy-nilly during the season. You know, if somebody in the FAI headquarters farted in the wrong direction, the league games were postponed and called off, you know. So we now have a situation where Galway going for a league title are the victims of circumstance, or are they victims of their own circumstance, Eileen, because they were the ones who called the treaty game off originally?
Yeah, I think a very wise woman said on this podcast that calling that treaty game off might come back and haunt them a little bit. And I think it has, because the Cork City game was called off because the All-Ireland Cup final. That was that weekend, wasn't it? Or is either the semi-final or the final. So, like, they have to be fit in. But I do think it's really unfortunate that they're fit in 1 week after the next. It's really hard. I thought they looked visibly fatigued last night. Maybe in the last 20 minutes in particular, and like, you're coming down it was a long trip. I think Phil Trill spoke about it in his pre-match interview. It was like, it's Galway to Wexford is an absolute trek, like, and then it was a really hot day as well. So like very, very difficult circumstances. And like Wednesday night, I know Lindsay McKee spoke about it in the commentary. You know, you're finishing work, you're getting up, and they're coming down to Cork on Wednesday night. You have to finish work, school, college early, whatever it is. You're not going to get back. The game's not till 8 o'clock. You're not going to be back in Galway until early Thursday morning. Like, so it's really, really difficult for them, especially when they're in a title run like that. Will they look back and say that that's kind of killed them, and maybe it'll be a lesson learned in relation to maybe moving games earlier in the season, just bearing in mind the way cups fall and international windows fall, that you may naturally then kind of be in this situation. But I do feel for them, because as we've said week in, week out, every player in this league is doing something full time, whether that's education or work. And I think it's an awful lot to ask of people. And it's not a league that we had 6 years ago where there's gimmies, like where they can travel and know, like, look, maybe we'll leave a couple up at home. That you can't do that, because every side is so good now. And every week and every game is a battle. Like, there's no handy game. And like Wednesday night, I know they won easily against Treaty, but it was still a battle. Like, it was a really physical game. Last night was a pure battle in terms of they just really matched each other. And like, they're not going to get anything easy in Turner's Cross either, like, because I think City will be hurting from the game earlier on in the season up in Galway, because that was a bit of a cluster, wasn't it? They were moving venues and stuff like that. So I think City will probably have that in the back of their head. So yeah, look, I do feel for Galway a little bit. But yeah, in relation to the game, I thought super game. It was a brilliant game. Yeah, Kylie Murphy's like, Ellen Malloy, who? Wait now, watch what I can do. Because it was a brilliant goal. She was like, hold my beer there, Ellen. But brilliant from Avian Clancy as well in the build-up to she wins it back and she makes space for and finds Kylie. But I was watching the game last night, and I was like, Declan McCormick now can't wait for tomorrow night to say, Nicholas in it, OG. You were delighted, I'd say, were you?
No, but I mean, OGs are OGs, right? They're part of the game.
I'm only winding.
No shame. I know you are. I'm laughing. You're laughing, but like, there's no shame. You know.
Like, it was 1-1 at half time, and I kind of probably didn't really ignite, I think, until the second half, and I think Galway really kind of threw the kitchen sink, but they couldn't. Like, Wexford were very resolute. Jane Merrin was absolutely incredible. The penalty, I don't know. Actually, first of all, I don't think it is a penalty. I think Jenna jumps into her, to be honest. I've no problem with Jenna jumping into her, to be honest. Like, I like a player looking for a penalty. I had no problem with it whatsoever. Really hard to know. It's such a freak kind of series of events with the penalty, though. Like, is it? I think it is in. I do think it's in. What do you think?
All right, okay.
I don't.
I didn't think it was either. And there's a question in the mailbox. I might as well go to the mailbox. I said that last week, and it was just the battle code. It's a mail bag, you not a mailbox. My good God. But anyway, Wexford versus Galway. Was it in or was it a save? Do we need goal line technology in LOI? Well, I mean, look... You can forget about your goal line technology anyway.
Can we get competent referees first, please?
I think it's one of those. Sorry, go ahead.
I thought it was in.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that when you're looking at it from one angle, it looks the base of the ball has gone past the line, but the top, the whole ball hasn't crossed the line. And I think you see little videos of those where, you know, as you move a camera around, you can see a ball that seems to be sitting behind the line on it. I think the angles on you know, from say inside the goal, behind the goal, I don't think it crosses the line. That's my gut on it, to be honest. I don't think it was a penalty either, to be honest. I think justice was done.
Yeah, and like, to be fair, like, she's plenty of power. Like, it is a really good save. Like, it is ultimately a good save. Because
if it wasn't for Nicholas Sinnett's header, I don't think anything was getting past Jane Merrin last night.
She was incredible. Like,
and she even got to that.
She also got the Lakem Rory Award, which is the player of the match. I hope that's right. I hope, because I just plucked that out of my head now. And there's no Irish in my life. So Look, I mean,
called her that.
She's only a young girl, Declan. There's no need for that.
Yeah, leave her alone.
Oh my word. So yeah, we'll move on quickly. 22 goals this weekend, I meant to say it, is the highest scoring weekend in the league this season. 18 goals was the previous best, which I think was week 15. 22 this weekend, and Galway, Wexford only have it, being 1-1 means that there isn't the weekend this season yet where all the games have gone over 2.5 goals, and I doubt there will be no at this stage, but Jenna Slattery's penalty was the best chance to make that happen, and as we said, brilliant save from Jane Mirren. This is a stupid question, but I mean, Galway come to Cork on Wednesday night and then they go to DLR on Saturday. I presume we're going to say they have to win both those games.
They have to win all their games now.
Yeah. Have to.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Look, we've already said they're going to that Galway are coming down to Cork City on Wednesday night. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff for anybody who might be around Turner's Cross and fancies going. At the same time, 7:15, Shelburne go to Sligo. Look, I have to say, and people notice, I'm not a fan of these midweek games. And I know we're now trying to fit in games at the end of the season, but it's too much. Like it's like Galway, for instance, as you said, it's probably 2 a.m. before they're back in Galway. A lot of those players are up for work Thursday morning. So Eileen, you've mentioned this previously. There's no recovery day on Thursday. They're probably in Friday evening, then a light training session. They're on a bus again to Dublin on Saturday. It's a recipe for disaster in terms of hamstrings, calf muscles, niggles, pulls. Everything is on the line. Maybe not in the Cork game, but I think in that DLR game, players are running a high risk of some kind of muscular injury. And I know the league will say, what can we do? We need to get the league finished, etc., etc. But there has to be a better way than this, surely, guys.
I think in Galway's situation, though, to be fair, some of it is, like we've said, is, it's they've rescheduled the fixture themselves, a treaty game. The Cork City one being this Wednesday probably doesn't help. But the thing is, well, you could see like at 4-0 down against Athlone on Saturday, Danny Murphy took off a couple of players we know will start. And so they played maybe 70 minutes. The nature of the team he picked, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of them starting fresh on Wednesday against the Galway team now that they'll be playing their third game in 7 days. And Laura Heffernan really could benefit hugely and DLR from it as well, because maybe Julianne Russell can only run for 85 minutes at that pace she usually does instead of 90, but it's bound to have an impact. And it's like, and again, but you'd worry really for things like injuries, and I think Wednesday in Cork, after having the bus trip down and everything, I think that's going to be a tougher game than you would otherwise have seen. Like if it had been a normal Saturday game, I think Galway will do very well to come away with 3 points out of that.
Interesting. I think obviously Eva Mangan will be back for Cork City. I think you may see an Orlo O'Mahony or somebody like that suddenly reappear as well. Galway are going to have a put up to them on that night. Next weekend, so you've those 2 games on Wednesday night. Then next weekend, we've already said, Galway open Saturday's proceedings when they go to DLR at 3 o'clock. Shamrock Rovers entertain Sligo at 4. So I'd imagine we're happy to say that should see Shamrock Rovers win 3 games on the trot, Eileen.
Yeah, I think so. And as you said, they played really, really well at the weekend. So I suppose the frustrating thing for Shamrock Rovers is there's kind of not much left for them to play for other than to just finish as high up the table as they can. They might be a bit, I suppose, agitating themselves with that. But look, I don't know what the situation is there. I think maybe the players feel they have something to prove after the way the manager spoke about them as well after that Shelbourne Cup game. So I don't know, they could be out to prove a point to him as well. But look, as I said, I thought they were excellent against Bowes, so you would expect them to kick on again.
I honestly think when Shamrock Rovers as a club look back at this season, there'll be massive frustrations and massive regrets. Genuinely believe that squad is so much better than that league position anyway. But look, I'm blue in the face from saying it. 5 o'clock, Cork City host Wexford. Tough game for both parties. Is an Ellen Malloy less Wexford? Obviously, it's a much easier game, but like, how much of an impact does Ellen Malloy leaving have on Wexford, John?
Look, it's going to be massive. Like, she's one of the best I've ever seen in this league, and so that's going to have an impact. But that said, I thought they were really good against Galway the other night. Grace Fitzpatrick Ryan's very young. She came in, she was really busy, did well. But Kylie Murphy, like, you've got Kylie Murphy to step in there, and Ciara Roster played a little bit narrower. Orla Conlon pushed up the wing a little bit higher, and I thought she was very good there. There's still a team full of talent, like, and I suppose what from a Cork City point of view, Keola Bergen does tend to get a little bit isolated, potentially, and that's something that Danny and Cork City can look at. But I, like Ella Malloy, obviously as a City fan, definitely much prefer to be facing a Wexford side without Ella Malloy. But they're still full of quality. They're a good side. But an interesting game. I think City's game in midweek against Galway as well probably have an impact for the same reasons, even though we're at home. Might be a bit of fatigue settling in after 3 games in the space of a week, but but Wexford as well now, I think they're 9 unbeaten, is it 3 draws and 6 wins or something like that.
Yeah, they're
so
going well.
They're a good run of form.
Going well. Eileen, Peamount return to league action. They play Bowes in PLR Park at 5 o'clock. Be interesting to see how they react, I guess, to their Champions League performances and whether it pushes them on for the remaining few games of this season.
Yeah, and like speaking or listening to you talking to Dervla last week, I think you can hear like they know they need to be better in the league as well, and it'll be interesting to see how Bowes bounce back from that Shamrock Rovers performance as well. Look, I think as soon as you put Lisa Murphy back into that side, they'll be a different animal anyway. But yeah, for Peamount, said can they? I suppose at times, look, in any walk of life, it's very easy in a way to get up for these very big games, for the big events, but can you do it, as you said, on a cold Tuesday night at Stoke kind of effort? Like, so can they do it on a cold Saturday in PLR Park? We will see. We will
also see if Athlone can do it on a cold Saturday night in Limerick, because that game, as we mentioned already, is on TG Cahir. I see Treaty are trying to get a crowd in. They're selling tickets for $5, encouraging people to come in. It would be great to see a crowd in Limerick and add an atmosphere to a game that has massive potential to be an absolute cracker. Yeah,
look, I think given the players that they were missing at the weekend, I think the Shels game, they probably weren't as competitive as they have been in every game this season, but they still managed to claw 2 goals back. They're probably the most entertaining side to watch in the division. Every game this year has, they've put up a battle. I think it's potential to be an unreal game, and I hope they do get a crowd in, because they're putting a lot of work in there, to be fair, behind the scenes. They're trying to drive the women's game on, and it would be good to see the people in Limerick kind of, come out a little bit and get behind them as well.
Eileen, you've always maintained there'll be twists and turns in the run-in. Is this a game that's a potential banana skin for Athlone?
Yeah, I don't think it's an easy place to go at all. I think Treaty are excellent, and if they get firing at all, I think they'll put it up to them. If they can get a crowd behind them, better again. I think that's like the thing with Athlone is wherever they go in the country, they bring a crowd. And I think that does help the side. That's something you don't see a huge amount of, unfortunately, in the women's game yet. And it's something Athlone do kind of have a little core group, and it's probably just parents and I suppose a couple of lunatic supporters that go everywhere. But I do think that helps, and they're always very vocal, as we've spoken about before, and it very much helps. But no, I fancy Athlone to get the win down in Limerick still. That all being said.
Okay, let's head for Jamaica.
Postman pattern in black and white cat. The cat makes race. Early in the morning, one bag of man is yawning. Him pick up all of the post bag in him hand. A real bad man. Postman pattern, he mix up cat. Team lies.
Enough's enough. Enough is enough. Yeah, there's not much, no DMs this week anyway. So, interesting one here, Eileen. I think it's best served to you. If Shels don't end up winning the league, do they go down as one of the best ever League of Ireland teams not to win the Women's League?
They'll certainly be up there. I think that Peamount team that left it behind them that night, that Shelburne won in Talco, were a really, really good side as well. And I think when like Raheny and Peamount in the first year or two of the league kind of went like every second year for the first 2 years, and respectively they were both, but like there wasn't the competition, I suppose, that maybe a current Shelburne side will have now. Equally, Wexford and Shelburne went 1-2 a few times. I think UCD Waves, if you look at the teams they had down through the years, they'll always just scratch their heads at how they didn't win anything. Like that sides with like Karen Duggan, Julianne Russell, Anya Gorman, Chloe Mustaki, Ciara Grant, Jetta Beryl. They never won anything. Like it's bananas to think. But I think probably like the big difference with the league now is just how competitive the entire league is. So yeah, look, for that reason, I think the current Shelburne team probably would have strolled leagues in the past. But look, as I said, I always think it's hard to compare because of how fast this league has grown in terms of its competitiveness.
Yeah.
And that
John,
UCD side as well was managed by... the UCD side was also managed by Eileen Gleeson on top of it all, and they still won nothing.
Oh, that was before my time. But like the list of players you read out there was just like, Jesus.
And I guarantee you, there's another 10 I didn't mention that are like outrageously good as well. Like
that's amazing. That is pretty amazing. John, I'm going to have a lot of money on your answer to this question. Well, I'll write it down. I'll write down the answer here before I ask you the question. So the question...
No pressure.
No. So the question is, this will be like blankety blank number one of those game shows. John will answer and I'll just stick up the written down answer then. Which of the recent departing players from the league will be missed most by their team?
Come on.
It's like you don't even need to ask. Look, like Ellen Malloy is just she's
ding 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 ding.
Yeah, no, this it's like Eileen said earlier on. The ceiling for Ellen Malloy is huge. Like I mean, and yeah, like you. It doesn't matter who, like as good as Wexford are and everything, that she's not like one of those players that you can't replace her with another player. You know, it's can't be done. Ellen Malloy, it's an easy question for me anyway. I mean, look, I'm not trying to knock anybody else. There's loads, but Ellen Malloy is a different level.
Absolutely. I know you too well at this stage. Eileen, last one here from John Breen, who obviously I apologise to again because I didn't ask Darvla his question last year. Well, there was no question. He just wanted to wish them best of luck and I missed it. But is it way too early to begin talking about Player of the Year 2024? I'd love to nominate a player right now, but I'm waiting to see if her team will bring it home. So we don't know what player John has in mind, but we are getting to that part of the season now where we have to start thinking about these things.
Do you know what, it's funny because I was thinking of team of the year yesterday and how different it would already probably be from our half team of the year.
Yeah.
Like there's a few, I'd have a few in mind. I think Julianne will definitely be in the conversation. Pearl will be in the conversation. I think Maggie Pearce has been brilliant for Shelburne. Laurie Ryan has been excellent. Maddie Gibson has been excellent. Like there's just been a lot of really, really good players. And that, I said, that's just people I've picked from the title contenders. You could go to the other clubs and pick people as well. For me, I think it's, if you're going on, unless like massive, someone really like just goes nuts the last few weeks, for me, it's going to be Julianne. But again, that's just, as I said, I think you could probably talk to 20 different people and have 20 different answers in that conversation, I think. Isabella Belitek as well. She's class, isn't she?
Yeah, she's really
We've
good.
a lot of very good sixes, like a lot of very good sixes. It's probably like the position that the league is really stacked in, like.
Yeah, I think Evie Clancy's been absolutely unreal this year as well.
She's coming back to what she was at.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Like
she?
even the last, like when you're missing Ella Malloy, she just completely stepped up the last day. She had Grace's Patrick Ryan next to her, like, and she's only, I think it was probably Grace's second start. Yeah. And she just helped her along the whole way. No, like there's players that we would have said in the first month, like, you know, Van Dalder and Friesen, who even a Treaty, who have been brilliant, and you kind of almost forget that they're doing it week in, week out, because others are just flying it.
John, Eileen's gone for Julianne Russell so far. Have you any advances on Julianne?
No, I think Eileen's kind of name check the ones that definitely be in the conversation. So just to go a bit of left field, just to be different, I think Lisa Murphy at Bowes has been outstanding all year and probably flown under the radar a little bit. I know she probably won't be in the conversation. I think it really will be Pearl or Julianne, but rather than giving, you know, just copying Eileen again, I'll just throw a different name out there.
Yeah, there's a few under the radar that probably won't be spoken about. Alex Kavanagh at Shelburne has been brilliant. Aoife Kelly at Shamrock Rovers, unbelievable when she plays in midfield. So look, there's definitely a few there that can be added into the conversation. Guys, I think we're done. Any shout outs, Eileen? Anybody you need to say hello to them?
Billy Dorney has come in and he said, can we get CCFC men's supporters to come on board following our ladies? I mean, same club. It shouldn't be a big ask, or am I deluded, John?
Billy, you are deluded.
And
you always have been.
I normally say way worse about him, so it's okay.
Yeah. No, I know. Like it was nice to see the Commandos turn up the last day. To be honest, that was good. But you're like I started out as a men's supporter. Like, to be honest, only for Forres, I probably would, and trying to throw our arm around the women's, I probably would never have gone down to Bishopstown. Like, and only for Paheli. Like, you know, most men start off as men's supporters and then drift across. Like,
yeah, very much so. But I do think we're probably still a long way off that. Like, of it's something, as you said, like someone has to be kind of nearly coaxed across, and then once they see that it is of a good standard and it is a bit of crack, but it's to coax them across in the first place. It's the same as trying to attract a non-League of Ireland supporter to support the League of Ireland. Like, some people just have their minds made up regardless, I think. Yeah,
like the amount of people though that, like, even on the, you know, when you ask fellas, what was the first City game you went to, it'll have been like Spurs and Bishopstown or Bayern Munich or a Man United or a Celtic friendly. It'd be some big event where they had a bit of a laugh and then they went back to see what it was about and got hooked. But I'll tell you, like, interesting now that there's a girl that coaches with us in Cashel, but she's going over to Sunderland to do physiotherapy, and she bought a student pack or something for Anfield, or did the Liverpool ladies play in Anfield?
They've occasionally play there,
yeah. But there was, anyway, it was like Man City, Arsenal, United, and one other at Anfield. £8 for 4 games, like. So, like, even in the UK, what they're having to do to get those crowds in, like, it's, do you know, it's crazy.
Okay, well, lads, we've no more questions, and I'm after taking over hosting duties because myself and John want to go home. Well, we are home, but we want to finish up. We don't know where Declan is. His internet is blown away, possibly, John, do you think?
Yeah. He said it was weather related, so let's assume it's weather related.
Just to finish up in typical Declan style, do you have any shout outs, John? Anyone you'd like to shout out to this weekend?
I'd just like to shout out to Declan for abandoning us on the pod and forcing you to assume hosting duties, but you're doing great, Eileen.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the support. There's nothing left to say really other than adios.
Adios, Eileen.
Los Damas, your weekly unofficial SSE Airtricity Women's Premier Division podcast with Declan McCormack, Eileen Ring and John O'Sullivan.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.